Hey everyone, it's Dan here, and today I'm going to be looking into the top 5 new features that will be introduced in Civilization 6. Over the years, time and time again, Firaxis Games have proven that they are the masters of making turn-based strategy games. The Civilization series has always been the powerhouse of their impressive library of games. Civilization 5, released back in 2010, has proven to be the most popular in the series yet, receiving an average score of 9 out of 10 on Metacritic. These aren't typically the type of games we normally talk about here at Digital Pinnacle, but I'm a massive fan of this series, so I'm very excited to be discussing these new features. Getting started at number 5, we have an improved Fog of War. Anybody who has played any of the previous Civilization games will know that the Fog of War is most commonly a blanket of grey clouds that looks incredibly plain and boring. This means the early few hours of a Civilization game can be spent without you seeing anything interesting. Even when you have discovered different areas, if you don't have any active units in those areas, a slightly brighter shade of grey comes back and replaces the original Fog of War. Now, in Civilization 6, Firaxis have focused on making the Fog of War much more original as well as being visually and artistically pleasing. Rather than the blanket of grey clouds, the Fog of War has become an engaging Victorian-style explorer's map that actively moves back and forth, revealing or covering the land. Lead designer on the game, Ed Beach, explained how at the start of the game, if you look at the edge of the map, you may see annotations describing sea monsters and such, which helps emphasise the idea of the unexplored and the superstitions that people of ancient worlds believed in. The only downside to this feature is the increased power an animated Fog of War will require. Players with lower spec PCs may struggle to run the game even on lower graphical levels. Next on the countdown, at number 4, we have a full day-night cycle. One of the features I have always struggled with in previous Civilization games is how your empire is supposed to expand over thousands of years, yet the time of day in which you view the world never seems to change. Thanks to the new engine in Civilization 6, the game can actively render different lighting environments as the game progresses. This means that as you move from turn to turn expanding your empire, the lighting will change from bright sunshine that reflects upon the vast oceans to the darkness of night. As your civilization discovers electricity, you will see buildings light up at night, adding a whole new level of immersion to these fantastic games. You can also customize the speed of the lighting change as much as you want, from quick transitions to long days and nights that take multiple turns to pass. At the halfway mark, number 3 is improved animations. This new feature is once again thanks to the brand new in-game engine that Civilization 6 will be running on. A bunch of new improved animations are being introduced that will once again help to improve the immersion of long drawn out games. When your civilization is building a world wonder, you can zoom in and see all of the different parts added to it as time goes on. On top of that, the animations when attacking enemy units have changed for the better. For example, in this shot of the British Redcoat unit, you can see that rather than simply firing off a volley and killing the enemy units, one of the units charges at the enemy and finishes them off with a brutal bayonet stab and a strike with their rifle stock. And in this example, you can see how cavalry acts much more realistically when attacking enemies. Rather than remaining motionless as their rider swings their weapons, the cavalry uses its speed advantage, circling the enemy and making multiple passes as they attempt to strike down their opponents. In second place, we have Streamlined worker units. One of the most annoying things about my style of playing Civilization 5 was the worker units. I generally opt to focus on strong economy in the early game, rushing to improve my lands with farms and quarries, which will help to provide me with the means to gain a strong military in the late game. The problem with this strategy is you needed a lot of worker units, which eventually filled up your population and became a pain to have. In Civilization 6, this won't be a problem, as Firaxis have opted to introduce the much more streamlined builder units. These civilian units will be very cheap to build, but can only be used a small number of times. When you ask them to build a farm, quarry, or something more complicated, this will be done so instantly, but you can only do this roughly 2 times before the builders will expire and you will have to train some more. I really love this new feature because it means improving resources in your empire will be much faster and easier, and will prevent worker units building up and taking vital resources in the late game. Finally, at the pinnacle of new features in Civilization 6, we have sprawling cities. In previous Civilization games, your cities only ever occupied one single in-game tile. Every now and again, the buildings might slightly flow over to the next tile, but in Civilization 6, this happens on a much larger scale. As the game goes on and your civilization becomes more powerful, your cities will begin to sprawl out over your nearby improved tiles, meaning that the most powerful cities become bigger targets for potential enemies. This adds a whole new element to defending your cities. Rather than crowding your army around a single tile and making it impenetrable, you are going to have to decide strategically where to place your armies in an attempt to defend your citizens from outside threats. On top of that, the new district system, which will require workers to build districts to allow you to gain certain advantages, will play a big part here. In the early game, if you want to train troops, you will need to build an encampment district. Your enemies will be able to take advantage of this by attacking and destroying your encampment. They can prevent you from building any more troops in that city and gain the upper hand over you. Okay everyone, that was Digital Pinnacle's top 5 new features of Civilization 6. We haven't got too long to wait until we can all play this amazing strategy game, as it will be released on PC on October the 21st this year. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Head over to our channel page to check out some more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.